I've been playing around with Season 9.5 of Marvel Rivals, and boy is this one of the weirdest seasons I have ever played. Like, somehow everything is good, but like, it's also not. Like, really not. Today, I'll be giving my review of this season, from the new hero to the balance changes, and a lot of things in between. But for now, let's go ahead and get into the bread and butter of the season, the Hood. With the Hood being a Vanguard, I as a tank main decided to immediately pick him up because, well, we don't have enough tanks as is, and quite frankly, this is going to be the most fun I'm going to get for the next 2 to 3 months. And while playing with him, I realized that this guy is good, but not for the reason you may think. Looking at his base kit, this guy actually sucks. Point blank period. I'm not going to try to sugarcoat it. At base, this guy sucks. His primary fire has terrible fall off, and despite him gaining faster fire rate, the more demonic charge he has, it comes with a small caveat that the actual per shot damage gets reduced slower and slower. At maximum demon charge, this is the amount of damage per second he's doing. Like, look at this. You're not going to be able to reasonably kill something in the same way that other tanks are able to do, and most supports with half a brain cell are going to be able to out-heal this no matter if they're healing themselves, if they're healing a tank at the front, or healing a DPS at the flank. Hell, most DPSs at the flank should actually have more than enough tools to completely outlive whatever damage that the Hood is doing directly. Because of this low sustained pressure, this makes the Hood completely unviable in a solo tank manner, even though he has really good selfish self-sustain abilities, that being a teleport that negates all damage, and a bubble that has nearly infinite durability, and the more you shoot at it, the faster it charges up his half-demon form, which, again, still sucks. Even with all this extra survivability, it's still not nearly as good enough to be played on his own. So the question is, where does he shine? And the answer is, he shines with everything else around him. You see, now that the Hood is actually released, a lot of heroes that have team-ups with the Hood, such as Cloak and Dagger, Jubilee, and Magic, are all able to take advantage of their enhanced effects, and their enhanced effects are actually really good. For example, with Magic, her demons are now able to have much more range, and actually, her demons in her enhanced state actually have so much range that her demons with the summoning circle buff actually has more range than base Magic during Darkchild, which already had a slight range buff anyway. And with the base effect being that she's able to have up to 4 demons at once in a specific area, this makes it so that she's going to be able to brawl and have so much group damage without even actually trying. She doesn't have to aim, all she has to do is just use both of her portals in a given area, and the absurd range of the demons should be able to take care of any form of sustained damage, and giving her temp health back for that damage. With this, the Hood would be able to capitalize on all this added pressure that the enemy team is likely going to focus the Magic for, and then use his lower sustained damage to be able to finish the job. Looking at the strategist side though, Jubilee has her enhanced team up, in which if she were to hit anybody who has a mark during her hit scan state, her hit scan state gets completely refreshed, meaning that if done correctly, you can double the amount of uptime that she has during this hit scan healing state. And because Jubilee is already so much more versatile as is, this essentially makes her a much more versatile Jeff the Landshark, and all it needed was just the Hood being in play. And I already thought that Jubilee had more than enough healing as is. Now, at times when she isn't at the hit scan state, it can be a little bit slow, but with the Hood being in play, this completely excuses that, and it is almost perfect. She is able to be a extremely versatile healer without being super oppressive in the same way that other healers like Luna Snow having a stupid cleanse and Cloak and Dagger having a get it a Joe free card with her freeze, bubble, and cloak. But again, she's still not a main healer, so it's not like she's going to be that annoying. She's just that much better. But going back to the Hood, to see why he's still good, we actually need to look at his ult. The ult that he has can pierce through shields. Not only does he pierce through shields, but because of the sheer numbers that each bullet has, it's either able to kill 2 squishy targets using 3 bullets each, or 1 Vanguard using all 6 bullets. And the reason why this is very helpful is because, unlike other Vanguard ultimates that are very one and done burst damagey, this puts the enemy team in a very unique spot, but still elicits the same reaction that other tank ults have done in the past, forcing their hand. But it's not forcing their hand because you ended up hearing Eye of Agamotto and now you have a certain amount of time to react, but because you're now going to force the enemy team to be in a spot of, do I just die and save my ult for later, or do I use my ult now and allow for the rest of my team to capitalize as needed? For example, if the Hood were to use his ult and immediately shoot at the Cloak and Dagger and Luna Snow in the back, they're not going to die instantly. So now they actually have to try and make the choice on the fly of if they want to use their ult now and potentially be subject to your second tank ult or your DPS ultimates, or even have no support ultimates for when your support's ult, or they hesitate, they die, and then you win the team fight by that. But even if you don't want to use it in this specific way, you can use it to shut down a lot of ultimates that a lot of tanks can't shut down in a much more reasonable manner. People like the Punisher, Star-Lord, and a few others come to mind when trying to survive up against these ultimates. And if not that, the fact that his ultimate does provide temp health to himself and allies around him makes it so that a lot of ultimates would be able to be defended against simply by the Hood's presence. His ult is just able to be used in so many diverse ways that this is why he actually still may be worth the pick, despite in neutral, he just sucks. And even though, and I'm not even talking about the main part of his kit, the giant wall that actually reduces so much damage, of which can be used to defend against oppressive poke comps, or blind dive heavy comps that are super mobile, or can reduce so much healing from the backline to where tanks may be forced to back up, get blinded, and be put in really bad spots. So despite the Hood being really bad on its own, he's able to complement so many different comps in so many different ways that he actually is not as bad as it may seem on the surface. See, as a Peni main, I'm gonna have to give this its own dedicated section, especially since I feel very, very qualified to talk about this, since, well, you know, she's my main. I've kind of used her for a while in my videos now. It is very obvious. But the thing is about the Peni changes in Season 9.5 is that it isn't as bad as people are saying that it is, but it was arguably one of the most unnecessary changes you could have done to any hero ever, but I'm saving unnecessary changes for the next section of this video. The obvious drawbacks to these changes with Peni are that you're not able to immediately cancel ults off of quick reactions, including many tank ults like Strange, Thor, Groot, Hulk, and some others if you get really lucky. And the playstyle of Peni gets reduced to trying to CC bully a single target, particularly in the front line, because those are going to be the people that are likely going to touch your nests and give value that way. Of which I agree, that is really stupid, and I don't like how these changes make it so that the way you interact with Peni is basically just don't even touch her, even less than you already don't want to touch her. Most tanks, since they're gonna be on the front line, have to be even more careful about Peni, even though the idea behind it on paper was to make it so that they had to be less careful about Peni. It became a little bit counterintuitive, but specifically for the person on the receiving end of it, and not the giving end of it. Another reason is that, well, because frontlining tanks such as the Thing, Rogue, or even Thor wouldn't want to deal with this, hell, I wouldn't want to deal with it either, people are going to want to ban Peni, but have just another reason to ban Peni. And Peni is basically an insta-ban across all ranks, especially if you're playing dive. So, if anything, they basically made it so that most Peni mains, including myself, kind of just have to give up on playing Peni for yet another season, despite her being at one of the best spots that she has ever been, before these patches anyway, in a long time. Moving away from all the bad things though, there are still some silver linings when it comes to how the changes were made, particularly with setting up and trying to play Peni on attack. Because she now has 2 charge-based cyberweb snares, you're able to establish your space and your zone that you're gonna have to play in a lot faster than normal. Since your web cap is at 4, and most Penny players are used to playing with 3 maximum webs, if you go on the flank or begin a team fight, you're able to immediately establish where the space is going to be upon entering a team fight or going on a flank to establish your nest and where that's going to be. Which, one of the biggest gripes that even I have as a Penny main is the fact that she is essentially the Regigigas of the entire tank roster, requiring you to sit there for at least 10 seconds before she's at full effectiveness, and it can make a lot of her defensive playstyles very, very boring at times. This makes it so that that process kind of gets expedited, but you do have to be really careful that you don't accidentally hit person while doing it, especially on a flank, or you don't miss entirely. But if you end up doing that, just work on your aim, it's not that bad. And this specific silver lining does apply more so to slightly better Penny players, but because of the property that the Cyberweb Snare has in that the Cyberweb Tracer does not go away after immobilizing somebody, you would be able to get upwards of 1.4 seconds of immobilization at a single time if you chain and time everything correctly enough. And Penny mains can likely agree with me in the fact that if you had just a little bit longer, that one person you were trying to snare would have totally died to the spider bots and it would have been over. This kind of does help in that, but now it just requires a little bit extra setup since you would have to wait for your 2 charges to be there and snare somebody once and then wait those 3 seconds to get your 2 webs back simultaneously and then hit them both. But either way, 1.4 seconds of immobilization within your nest is a crazy amount of damage that can easily kill any squishy target and maybe even some tanks immediately. And this is a much more niche silver lining when it comes to the Penny changes, but it's still something that I need to say. That being that you're able to catch ults a lot more effectively, although this is in a really, really specific situation. If you have Iron Man and Magneto in the same team, you would be able to catch both of their ults in rapid succession. Now, me saying this is mostly just me coping with the fact that Penny definitely is in a semi-worse spot, and I would not want this change to be here in the first place, but it's still something to consider, and I'm still coping, so I put that in the video. Overall, if you're a new Penny player, then just know that the skill ceiling definitely got a little bit higher, but for you Penny mains, you shouldn't even have to worry too much since the overall playstyle just got a little bit more pinpointed, and the snaring mechanic is obviously just a little bit clunkier, but in a way, Penny's entire playstyle is very janky anyway, so it's nothing new. Now that I'm done ranting about Penny and her balance changes, we still have another multitude of balance changes to get through, starting with the weirdest ones, in my opinion, that being Phoenix and Cyclops. Whoever said that Phoenix and Cyclops was weak? Show of hands. If you raise your hand, genuinely leave. I don't understand how anybody could reasonably say that either Cyclops or Phoenix is bad. They overtake many other group-based heroes in being able to do group-based damage, and Cyclops especially didn't even need a buff because, to be quite frank, he has one of the most forgiving hit-scan projectiles in the entire game, and overall one of the most forgiving playstyles overall, since his E ability, or if you're on console, your right bumper, has an extremely forgiving hitbox in which if you just hit the ground near somebody, then the laser will ricochet and hit anybody around that certain area, meaning that Cyclops is one of the only, if not the only hero who can actually kill you without actually seeing you. And we decided to give this guy a buff, right? Phoenix, while technically the numbers are very small, this trend in trying to buff poke heroes after this game for the past few seasons has constantly been at war about, quote, poke slop. This is just the wrong move entirely. I would understand it if they were so abysmally bad that the pick rates were just horrible or the win rates for them were absolutely horrible, but that's not the case and hasn't been the case ever. Hitscan Moon Knight is still Hitscan Moon Knight and will still be broken, or at the very least very, very strong by default. There's no need to give him a buff, and Phoenix has always just been strong for poke players since day one. The second biggest change that nobody understands though is White Fox. And I'm not even a White Fox player, but what I don't get with NetEase is their tendency to nerfing or buffing support ults, or supports in general, by just slapping a slightly different number on their ultimate charge and thinking that that is going to be substantial enough to actually make them better or worse. Nobody, and I mean nobody, ever asks for a specific support getting their ult less. It's either everybody needs a boost or everybody needs a nerf when it comes to ultimate charges. Nobody ever thinks or has thought that nerfing one specific support and how fast they get their ult will solve all the problems about it. If anything, people were complaining about White Fox in her neutral. There's so much burst damage in the game right now because of all the changes that Dive getting the power boost from the 9.0 team-up changes made White Fox kind of buns to play with. It's not effective enough at doing what it's supposed to, and as of season 9.5 and 9.0, the Thing is just a much better anti-dive, and you would just be better off having one of your tanks go play Thing and have him take care of the anti-dive. White Fox just doesn't do that well enough. Something that Zhuyong should have done was upping the amount of healing that is gained from hitting people, or even buffing both the hitting people healing and the neutral healing that you get by default when going into her brawl state. Hell, maybe even increase the healing on her orbs, but not by too much because she's not supposed to do that in the first place. There are so many other routes that you could have done. Decreasing cooldowns, increasing healing, so many other things. And yet you decide to make her ult come up faster and give people an ineffective intangibility is going to solve everything. No, her ult was never the problem. It was everything else about her. And now we have to wait yet another month for her to actually get any changes, if at all. Just because me and a bunch of other creators are complaining about White Fox doesn't even guarantee that she'll get changes next season. Meaning that we could go as long as 2 to 3 seasons with one of the most fun and unique supports basically being completely shot, just like all the other off healers in the roster. And that has already been a topic of discussion for so long that I shouldn't have to say anything else aside from Zhuyong. Please let off healers play the game. If the devs don't lock in on actually changing what's wrong with their heroes, I wouldn't be surprised if people's favorite hero get gutted. Oh wait, they already do that! Overall, Season 9.5 left a lot to be desired, and the devs are gonna have to take the time that they left for a break and work double the amount once they get back on ground zero again. All in all, I'm only semi-okay with the changes that they did, especially since this is a 0.5 season, and it's usually the 0.0 seasons that are much more substantial and give us a lot more transparency on what they're actually doing, and it also allows people to make predictions about the metas and blah 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 blah. I'm going to leave that part up to Flats, since a lot of people listen to him anyway. If you made it to the end of the video, thank you so much for watching to the end. If you agree, disagree with anything, or think I missed any important details in this video, please let me know in the comments. I would love to hear about it. Please give this video a like if you liked it, and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more of my content. It supports me tons and tons, and I want to hit 1K subs by the end of the year. Again, thank you so much for watching, and with that, I'm out.